So Faraway Lucas, are you ready to talk about Metal Gear Rising?
You know, when you said we were talking about a Metal Gear game, I was like, I wonder which one Karl wants to talk about.
So Faraway Lucas and the folks watching at home, the specific topic of today's Wiki Weekend is going to be Senator Armstrong.
Idiot.
And we'll be covering the information that's detailed on the Metal Gear Wiki, a link to which you can find below. Before that, Lucas, what do you know about Stephen Armstrong, the fucking man that is?
See, now you're going to remember the character a little bit better than me, Karl.
And why is that?
Because Karl does a weekly stream every single Friday where Karl just chills out and beats all of Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
Yeah, which started as a running joke. It was you who made me do that. I streamed Metal Gear Rising one week, and I got through the entire game. It took 5 hours, but I did it. Mm-hmm. And then the following week, I was like, I don't really know what to stream this week. 'Cause me and you, we coincide our streams to have raid each other, or so we don't step on each other's toes. Maximize that audience engagement. Also, yeah, this video is low-key a plug for both of our Twitch streams. And I was like, yeah, I don't know what to stream this week, though. You went, why don't you just stream Metal Gear again? So I did. And the following week, you said, why don't you just do it again? And now it's become a running gag where I stream it every single Friday. And I got pretty good at it. I can complete the entire game in 2.5 hours now.
Oh, you should learn to speedrun it, because I've done speedrun streams of Resident Evil 2 Remake. Because basically, I learned how to get good at that just to, get a couple of unlockables to get under 2 hours. It's the easiest way to learn how to beat the game in under 2 hours is to just learn the speedrun route.
That's the thing for me, a lot of people have said you should learn to speedrun the game. It's I don't want to, because then I wouldn't play it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing when you speedrun a game like Metal Gear Rising, which is a character action game, it inevitably involves just spamming the most powerful move over and over again, which isn't fun. It's one of the things that I do on my stream is I have a list of hype moments that can happen in a playthrough but aren't guaranteed to happen. And they're most voice lines from characters, because every boss has dozens of contextual bits of dialogue they can give. For example, Senator Armstrong, if you kick his ass especially hard, he'll say man to man, I can't be beat, and flex on you. And if he says that, it's shot, get a shot in.
Yeah. And,
or if Monsoon says welcome to my utopia of death because he's a fucking edgelord, shot, let's get him in.
It's
that sounds fun every Friday on my Twitch stream. But yeah, know anything about Senator Armstrong besides the fact Nanomachines son?
No, because I've only beaten the game twice, and it was in succession. It's I beat the game, unlocked more shit, and went and beat the game directly again. And I don't remember too much about the game other than cutting apart Metal Gears, becoming Jack the Ripper, fighting against Sam in the desert, and then all of a sudden, I don't remember Armstrong other than being the final boss.
Yeah, he just turns up out of nowhere, doesn't he? It's what a legend. And it's, maybe join me for a Friday one evening. I can educate you on the ways of Metal Gear Rising. But for people like Lucas who aren't too familiar with the character of Armstrong, we have a brief bio with him here. It says, Senator Armstrong was, spoilers right there, a United States Senator representing the state of Colorado, as well as the candidate for the 2020 United States presidential election. And that's one of those things where Metal Gear Rising, I contend, has aged phenomenally. It's aged like Salma Hayek, where every single, time I play it, there is a new thing I notice that's just mwah, fucking, such as a crazy right-wing politician rising to the potential rank of president in 2016.
And also, just the ACAB movement.
Yeah. And all cops are bastards, where it's one of the few games where just cops are straight up the primary antagonist of Mission 3.
183-104.7, threatening a peace officer. Deadly force is authorized.
Not a stand-in for the police, not a corrupt police officers who are acting against these. No, actual police officers who just try and murder you, and you get bonus points for cutting them in half.
And before everyone says it in the comments, in Grand Theft Auto, you're the bad guy, not the cops.
Yeah. Raiden is unequivocally the good guy of that game, because the whole plot is that Senator Armstrong runs a company that is harvesting child brains from Mexico and putting them into cyborg bodies to fight in a war.
That's immoral. War crime this, code of conduct that. Kids, you can mold, manipulated to performing all kinds of atrocities.
And it's like there's so many individual parts of that plan that are like villain, but like the fact that it's like they're all combined, super villain is the only way to describe him.
And that's like a step up from like the PMC shit, isn't it?
Yeah, like they are like rather than just like they're not only profiting from war, they're starting wars that they're going to then fight with their cyborg soldiers that are full of children brains.
And I don't even know where to begin with that, but yeah, like what about Armstrong himself, Karl?
He says, well, an extremely nationalistic, patriotic, and libertarian, so that's how you know he's wrong, individual, he often expresses the desire to reclaim the American dream, like by fulfilling the whim of the patriots. And he says, it's another thing, like he's trying to lead an insurrection against America. Again, right-wing politician, like try to foment and it's so on point.
There's no way that you'd ever find a right-wing politician leading an insurrection against the government.
The United States, yeah. It's since that's the thing. It's so fucking on the money. You have here just some biographical information. Nationality, American. The thing is, all of these should just say American. It's like it shouldn't say eye colour. It should just be American, blood type American. Because the game has become quite meme worthy now, and that's one of the reasons I like to play it. Because a lot of people know it as the meme game. But I think it has a lot of depth, both mechanically and story wise. And like every time I play it, because I've had a few drinks, the other thing people do when they have food, they get a bit political. And I'm like breaking down like Armstrong's speech of like, God, it's so like everything he says is hypocritical. It's like everything has double meaning, and you can reinterpret it this way and this way. And it's like this is just it's a fist fight on top of a robot. You're not supposed to analyze this. So like, yes, I do.
It's so weird, isn't it? Because the Metal Gear franchise itself is like so lofty with its goals in terms of storytelling and like predicting the future. Or not even maybe predicting the future, predicting, a future that Kojima has imagined for this universe. But underneath all of like, the on-surface silliness and goofiness and Metal Gears and shit, like there are so many times where they have accurately ended up predicting like something that's an allegory for what ended up happening in real life.
Yeah, and there's so much depth there. I compare like Hideo Kojima games and the Metal Gear games to like Quentin Tarantino movies, where you can just go into them like gun porn action, or you can examine the themes. Like it's the same way. It's a good way of getting that message. It's basically just spoonful of sugar. So make the medicine go down a little bit easier. It's a lot easier to digest these themes that are being presented when there's like one, a phenomenal game on top of it, which feels fun mechanically to play, and two, memorable characters who are interesting.
Yeah, if the game was all just talk about like the Patriots and the Lale Lule Lo and all that shit, like I'd very quickly get bored. But when there's ridiculous action and awesome stealth and like solid fucking Snake on board, it's like, yes.
It's like the end of Metal Gear Rising is literally a political speech, which devolves into a debate, physically and metaphorically. Like, because you even have like Raiden giving his counter speech while fist fighting out. It's a political debate.
Typical politician. Big promises, but all talk. What? Jumpstart the economy. What a load of bullshit! All you care about is lining your own pockets. That and your approval ratings.
You're alright with that because it's interspersed with fist fighting a robot man. And it's like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, it's like giant, awesome spider Metal Gear fight.
Yeah.
But also a politician's debate on top of it.
And it's even as well like the lyrics to the song. Like when you're like, oh, those kick-ass songs, like the moment, like the music hypes up. Like during like the climactic moments, the lyrics to the songs are like, give up your free will because America tells you to. And like that's the thing, it's like those things like when you're listening to a song, you actually listen to the lyrics of like Hey Ya. Where everyone's like, oh yeah, Hey Ya, it's like such a catchy song, and then you listen to the lyrics and it's about, I don't know specifically what it's about, but I know the lyrics are, it's the famous example people use, like, yeah, it's real fucked up. Like Pumped Up Kicks. Like the song's like super catchy and the actual reason, like the lyrics are about a school shooting.
Oh yeah, you're catching me real off guard because I've never listened to the lyrics of Pumped Up Kicks or Hey Ya before, so I'm like,
a lot of people haven't,
shit.
And that's the thing, it's the same. thing with Metal Gear Rising, like, oh yeah, these super high pass songs. Then you go like read or listen to the lyrics, and it's like talking like, give up your free will.
And it's one of those of like, we're recording this in December and hearing Christmas songs a lot, and the obvious one similar is Baby It's Cold Outside. Well, like, if you don't really listen to the lyrics, like, it's just like a nice sounding song, but then the moment you even like attempt to hear it, like, I tried to say no, 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 and then it's like, maybe I'll just come inside. It's like, no,
Stop that.
Stop it.
But anyway, like the one bit of detail we need to cover about Armstrong, because this is one that blew my fucking mind when I learned it, and I bring it up as much as I can, is that he's voiced by Alistair Duncan. And that name might not mean a lot to a lot of people.
I
But I
recognise
should
it.
point out that Alistair Duncan, who does he voice, Lucas, alongside Armstrong?
I can't remember, but I recognise that name a lot.
Well, you play God of War, right?
Yes. Is it Mamiya?
It's Mamiya.
Yeah, I knew I recognised the name.
He plays Mamiya and Senator Armstrong.
Inhale, concentrate. Exhale, release. Kratos' stern voice drummed out. Atreus ignored the words. He paused, his own anger rising to meddle with his concentration.
And I'm going to point this is a free plug for Alistair Duncan. He's on Cameo, and he will do the Armstrong voice for you.
Shut up! That's why your mama dead, Jack. Dead as hell.
I'd love the Armstrong speech done by Mamiya. Like, retelling the Armstrong speech as, like, a historical event that Mamiya witnessed.
Yeah, and I don't get how, like, Troy Baker is, like, the face of, like, voice acting in the industry when all of his voices sound the fucking same. And then you have, like, Alistair Duncan, who's simultaneous, like, the most American man to ever exist, and Mamiya, the most Scottish man to exist.
It is really weird and, like, kind of almost depressing in the sense of, like, I've listened to Nolan North and Troy Baker talk in interviews a lot of, like, how they have quite a vocal range and they've been brought in to do, like, doubles of a lot of celebrities that couldn't be asked doing games. But every time they're hired, they're like, no, do what you did in that game where you sounded like Troy Baker.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
And it's like every time they just cast and like, well, I could do that. No, we want you to sound like Troy Baker or Nolan North or whatever. It's like, it must be so infuriating.
Yeah, like they never. It'd be like if you're a musician and it's like, oh, play that one song. It's like, well, I've got all these other songs. Like, no, play that one song.
Yeah.
And like just the fact that he simultaneously plays like Mamiya and Armstrong, and like when you hear him talk as well, like he has a Scottish accent, but he all the way up to 11 when he's like doing Mamiya.
I couldn't have told you that was the same person.
No, because it sounds completely different. Like, he's 100% in that moment the character. Like you don't hear Alistair Duncan, the actor, when you see him. You hear Senator fucking Armstrong. Well, his big fucking like wide head and all that shit. But yeah, like, the example I always bring up when it comes to like voice, and he's like D. Bradley Baker. He's like the most extreme example of the things that he does, where he is the voice of Klaus.
Life is not worth living.
Klaus, no, it's not worth it.
Suffer for your crimes.
And the Theron guards in Gears of War. And he's like, that is such a broad range. Like, there's like interviews where he does it, and he's like, punish. It's like, it's not even like a filter. That's just his voice.
That's I'm a lot of those guys, a lot of the locusts and the just really hideous characters. I was Gravemind in Halo.
You sent me over to some D. Bradley Baker interviews during a video once, and while I was editing, I just ended up down like this 3-hour rabbit hole of watching him do interviews about all the voices and weird stuff that he can do with his throat and stuff. Like, the shit that he can come up with is like incredible. And shout out to like Destiny 2. I'll look up the name of the actor now, but
okay, well, while you're doing that one, I'll say like the other one is like Frank Welker, like Megatron. But he's Megatron and Fred from Scooby-Doo.
Oh my god, really?
And he still does Fred. He's like 80 years old.
Right. Would you do it for a Scooby snack?
I don't think so.
Yes, this is the person. I think it's Mola Garondona. But basically, she's the voice of one of the like characters in Destiny, like just a very cool character, and then also happens to do a lot of like the screams of like the witch enemies, and they're like these like hive alien enemies. Like she does so many of like the weird screams for like all of that, the alien species and stuff, on top of just being the voice actress for Eris Morn. It's like, oh, that's so goddamn cool.
You cannot face this alone.
When I came to discover the voice of Eris, I thought about despair and darkness, very dark and disturbed.
Yeah, it's like you just like, well, they can do it, and you get them. And I always love watching those behind the scenes videos of them doing stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the one of like D. Bradley Baker just doing the fucking Theron guards, and it's like, hell yeah. But anyway, Senator Armstrong. So Armstrong was born and raised in Texas. Prior to pursuing politics, he played college ball. Don't you know? It's still my favourite bit of that entire like showdown he has with Raiden, where for just one moment they play non-diegetic sound of the crowd cheering when he fucks up Raiden by soccer punting him. And it's so pointless.
Don't fuck with this, Senator!
He says he sacrificed the prospects of a professional football career to join the Navy. Could have gone pro. That's I've almost memorised the speech now. Because I've said that at one point I will, when I'm like, in shape physically enough, I'm going to dress like Senator Armstrong, do the speech and get undressed as he does, and finish the final suit with my shirt off. Anyway, by the time of 2016, he maintained his physique and even managed to enhance it further via Nanomachines, son. The only thing I think that's aged poorly is when they say, how did you get elected? And it's like, he is a 6'7" giant football playing like war hero in Texas, from Texas. Mm-hmm. He's gonna get fucking elected.
How the hell did you get elected?
Well, I don't write my own speeches.
That all he needs to do in America is like put his name on the ballot at that point.
We don't even, when he says like, I could break the president in two with my bare hands, it's like, why don't you just do that? And my idea for, it's never gonna happen, like Armstrong DLC for Metal Gear Rising, where it's just his VR training, where it's just him defending America by like swinging the Washington Monument and like, going to Mount Rushmore and getting like president fists and fighting off a Russian Metal Gear. And it just pops up and he's obviously like gonna have red, white and blue sunglasses for the VR goggles, and that's what he does every morning to just get America enough.
I think we might be a little bit far away from the release to get a DLC for that game, Karl.
It never stops me wanting it, though. We have here personality and traits. And we have a quote from here. You should try fighting for what you believe in sometime, not for a company or a nation or anyone else. No politics in this video game, though, is there?
No, none.
So Armstrong was shown to be extremely nationalistic, patriotic, expressing the desire to reclaim the American dream. And that's one of the things he says, he says, like, make America great again. And a lot of people have, like, said, is that they predicted Trump? And it's not a Trump quote, it's a Ronald Reagan quote.
But it's something that Trump co-opted.
Yeah, it's one of those like hidden bits of depth to that speech where Armstrong, he doesn't actually have any message whatsoever. He doesn't believe a word he's saying, because he ends his speech by saying, I don't write my own speeches. When Raiden asks him, how did you get elected? Which shows that he doesn't believe a single fucking thing he just said. He's just repeating, regurgitating a bunch of talking points that sound good. He's basically just making sound bites for a speech.
Yes.
And it's like that thing of like, that's so on point. Because that's exactly what happened in the real world. They just predicted that someone would just co-opt a bunch of good sounding quotes that don't actually mean anything.
I mean, we've experienced it many a time over the year of people being like, oh, look at like this well-constructed argument for X and Y, and it's like, no, it's someone saying a bunch of fluff very confidently and having no backing behind it.
It's like we have like Monsoon. Like when we have the Monsoon fight in the game, one of the things I always say is like, more recently I'd say is Elon Musk. Because like even when he's losing, he's like, aha, I won. But it's like, yeah, he's that guy on Reddit who thinks he's smarter than he is because he knows a bunch of big words.
The world and all its people are diseased. Free will is a myth. Religion is a joke. It's controlled by something greater. Memes. The DNA of the soul.
And it's so fun to play through and like to experience people experiencing it for the first time when I break this stuff down, because I love all that shit. But it says, so his plans involved governing the current USA and then reforming it so that people could fight for their own decisions. And I love that as well. Like, we're all going to fight for what we believe in. What are we going to do that? We're going to fight in the war that I said. It's like, he's a walking contradiction. It's hilarious. So he planned to initiate the revival of the war on terror in hopes of using war as a business to get elected to the next US president.
Yeah, and I think that was obviously a big thing in the mind of at least, I guess, Kojima, if not a lot of other people involved at both studios, you know, Platinum and the Konami studios, of just like, you can tell between Metal Gear Solid 4 with the private military companies and then Metal Gear Rising coming out like very close together. Like, that was the real issue that they had at the time of like privatizing military and like, you know, profiteering from war and shit.
Yeah. And that's the thing, it's like, you know, drone warfare as well, which is like, you know, a nascent thing, and like they're using that, like taking it to its logical extreme of like building walking robots that commit war crimes.
At least they make cow noises though.
Yeah. And that's one of the great things about Metal Gear, and it's like all the depth and nuance, and then like the robots moo like cows to symbolise that they're just like, you know, part of a, like, you know, a military industrial complex. Like, we get that. You don't need to make them moo like a cow, but I guess he did. So he was very arrogant and held a sarcastic attitude during battle. He excessively used nanomachines implemented in his body. It's like, fuck yeah, he does.
A 2, maybe 3 stage boss where he just progressively pumps himself further and further up.
Yep. And he just does like the sumo stomp and absorbs all the energy in the area while screaming. The nanomachine base he used hardened upon experiencing physical trauma, in which it gave him blackened skin in areas where the nanomachines were in use. He was also in supreme physical, like fucking, and then some. And one of the little details I like, if you watch the fight, now I'll no doubt put clips in if you like, you know, watch my stream when I do it. You'll notice that throughout the fight, Raiden slowly figures out how his nanomachines work, because they don't immediately appear. Like, there is a split second where you can react, and you can only have so many nanomachines in one part of his body. Like, there's a like one of the little quick time events you get is where he throws a punch and he puts all his nanomachines into his arm. Raiden will hold it in place and it leaves his ribs open, because he can't simultaneously have them in his arm to hold Raiden at bay while also protecting his ribs.
Right.
And
yeah.
Raiden slowly realizes throughout the fight that's how you get hit in.
That's the best you got.
And I will say, like, I'm just gonna send you an image because, like,
okay,
you don't know much about One Piece, but like
okay.
the whole him progressively.
Like, I'm gonna have to put this into the thing now, aren't I? Go on, show me.
Yeah, just him progressively, like, you know, having like the blackness on his arms and stuff. It reminds me of like a Luffy transformation later in One Piece.
Is this going to be a spoiler for anyone if I put this into the video?
So it will be a spoiler for like 200 something episodes ago.
Okay, so not a lot in the grand scheme of things for One Piece.
So yeah, it's spoilers for like, you know, maybe like Dressrosa or earlier, depending on where you are in One Piece. But I'll send you at least just so you can understand what it makes me think of.
Okay, no problem. So yeah, I'll take a look at that in a moment. While Lucas is doing it, it says here that his arrogance will occasionally lead to brash and reckless things, such as headbutt his way through a concrete wall like an absolute fucking man. Being a presidential candidate, he wasn't adept at writing his own speeches, hiring others. Oh, the shock. Not writing his own speeches, eh? He was also somewhat gullible, quickly changing his mind when Raiden seemingly agreed with. And I love that, the look on his face, like, am I finally getting through?
Maybe I was wrong about you. Am I finally getting through?
And I still think there needs to be a bad ending where when he shakes your hand, you can choose whether or not to shake it. You should come up with, like, when you do like the power shake, you can choose to either shake his hand or slap the nut on him.
I was wrong. You're not greedy.
It should just be, you know, like fucking Force Unleashed ending. Like, do you kill him or not?
And here we have, like, Armstrong held some disgust to Japanese horticulture, in particular cherry blossoms. Because when you take him into, like, the weeb room in World Marshal Headquarters, it's like, the fuck is this?
Why is he not like cherry blossoms?
You just don't like anything that's not American. As he smokes a cigar.
Oh, right, okay.
And he says that he fires the guy responsible for doing it.
Cherry blossoms look nice.
That's the thing. That's such like a fucking like Armstrong thing of doing it. Like Seto Kaiba in his way, like fire the guy responsible for this decision, and then.
And until I do, my scars of defeat will continue to burn. Fire whoever designed that bottle. Kaiba Corp's products shouldn't bend that easily.
Yes, understood.
Powers and abilities, and what's his most famous quote, Lucas?
Don't know.
About his power. Yeah, Nanomachines, son. It's the meme. And if you like, on my Twitch, I actually got an artist who worked the channel Tenchi Arts. I got them to make a Nanomachines emote because because why not?
No, yeah, like I've obviously heard that one, but like I wasn't sure because there's quite a few Metal Gear Rising memes at this point. Many of them are revolving around the Armstrong fight.
Yes, because it's fucking phenomenal. We have here, so even before his nanotech infusion, Stephen Armstrong was considered to be quite strong. Yeah, he's 6'7" and built like a British shit house.
It's a fitting name.
Stephen Armstrong. There we go. He says that he was also very skilled in hand-to-hand combat, though he preferred a more brawl-like style of fighting. He uses like elements of collegiate wrestling and different college ball-based moves, like shoulder checks and stuff like that.
Of course. What is the like most American fighting style? A combination of wrestling and American football tackles.
Let's go. The hell are you thinking?
After his nanotech infusion, it improved his already impressive physical capabilities. They were amplified to superhuman levels, allowing him to effortlessly overpower other individuals who are very strong, such as Raiden, who can lift the entirety of Metal Gear Excelsius.
Yeah, like, Raiden's surprisingly strong.
Ridiculously so, yeah. Like in the first scene of the game, he lifts up Metal Gear Ray. Which weighs like 150 tons, with his old robot body, which is, by the time of the game is set, is like inefficient. So that's the body he has in Metal Gear Solid 4, and they say it's outdated, and that's why they're building the new one. And in Metal Gear Solid 4, he holds back all of, like, I think it's Arsenal gear, when he stabs himself through the foot, and he holds back, like, a building-sized Metal Gear from crashing. And that's before he gets upgraded, which makes him, like, 50 times as strong.
I still remember just the preamble to Metal Gear Solid 4 coming out, and seeing, like, that cutscene where he takes on a bunch of geckos and then fights Vamp. It's like, when did Raiden just become the most badass Metal Gear character? Like, they heard the feedback from 2 and went, fuck it.
Imagine, like, Snake watching that. When he sees, like, Raiden running along, like, missiles and cutting a Metal Gear. Because that's the thing as well. People think that's unrealistic. It's like, oh, Raiden could never be that strong. Don't forget, it's canon. In Metal Gear, that Raiden beat 30 Metal Gear Rays. Because the canon ending is the European Extreme ending. Of, like, do you know how many Rays he takes out? Well, it's 30.
Oh no, I don't know about this.
Yeah, like, in the ending of Metal Gear Solid 2, you've got to take out between 2 and 30 Metal Gear Rays based on the difficulty, and it's canon that Raiden took out 30 on his own.
What does he do?
He shoots with a stinger.
Oh, he shoots them with stingers, right?
Yeah,
okay.
But he still takes out 30 of them, and that's canon. And that's before he got... And he's also not got trained in using a sword. Because you think, it sounds... the game feels so ridiculous. No, like, Metal Gear Solid 2 ends with you fighting the president. With a samurai sword.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, as well, from second one, when Raiden gets the sword, he can block bullets with it.
And, just, like, any complaints you've got, just, like, go see any scene from Metal Gear Solid 3. It's already gone off the ridiculous bandwagon.
It's always been ridiculous, yeah. It's like even just the Vamp fight, like dodging bullets and so. Yeah, Raiden's always been, like, all about fighting American politicians with a sword. Says that, so, these nanomachines would harden different parts of his skin in response to physical trauma. It says it turned the affected areas black with some splotches of red on the outer edges. As a result of the hardening, you become highly resistant to physical damage, and combined with his increased healing speeds, rendered him virtually indestructible to nearly any form of blunt force. Even Raiden, a powerfully enhanced cyborg, was unable to do any serious or permanent damage because of the nanomachine's hardening when Raiden attempted to strike him. And you can even see that through gameplay.
On that note, Karl.
Yeah.
Do you want to see Armstrong Luffy in our Discord chat?
I want to see Armstrong Luffy. Yeah, send that along.
It's been sent.
Oh, I don't know if I can. I have to end this call. I think I can stop stream. There we go. Let's have a look. How do I get to our chat? Should we record these on Discord? I'm like, how do we get to the chat?
We
on
do,
Discord?
yeah.
How would I see that? Oh wait, here we go. Show chat. Armstrong Luffy. That's so real. Why
That's
is
like a
Armstrong
legitimate
Luffy so thick?
part of One Piece, and he's actually just like Armstrong Luffy.
That's incredible. And like also rudely interrupted by Armstrong Luffy. The you can see it through gameplay of like when you're fighting Armstrong, very right at the start when you still got your sword before he snaps it in half. If Armstrong activates his nanomachines while swinging, your sword clashes with that part of his body. It bounces off.
Oh, okay.
And that's something you can see when you do that. And so you could also generate and fire energy similar to Raiden's lightning generation, using it to enhance his physical attacks, or just make it rain helicopters. It says here, Doctor, when speculating on the evolution of transhumanism, explained that nanomachines were still largely unexplored as far as augmenting human potential. And that's the thing as well, of like, it seems so ridiculous that they went the cyborg route when nanomachines were so much better.
Yes, yeah.
Like, especially when it comes to like keeping your human body and still having like, the outward appearance of being human, but just better. Like Armstrong still looks fully human, right up until like, he turns into like, Luffy.
But my question would be like, I guess, at what point did Raiden get changed to a cyborg, and was it like too early for the nanomachines to be able to be used?
Well, no, nanomachines existed in Metal Gear Solid 2. That's what Vamp's powers come from, and Vamp could dodge bullets and heal from anything.
Oh, right, okay.
It says here. So Armstrong powering up seemed to magnetically pull in metal dust from the surrounding ruins of Excelsius, allowing it, and that's one of the things that he like absorbed into his body, and that's what it's like. Oh, just that detail.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh yeah, they didn't have to explain how his powers work, and they did, because that's what they do in Metal Gear games. They always have to explain everything, however fucking stupid. Like, why can this man fire bees? Shut up, is what you'd expect them to say. It's like, no, we're going to explain how he fires bees.
And, obviously Metal Gear normally goes the opposite route of, like, over-explaining everything, but at least they made the effort to try.
Yeah, when they say, like, oh, where does the metal come from? It's like the nanomachines absorbs, like, magnetic, like, metallic dust, and they force that to the surface of his skin.
How many wiki videos are just, like, a comic book thing? It's like,
they don't
what
explain
causes this thing? We don't know.
And then in Metal Gear, they explain it. Not even, like, outright. They just have a detail that you can infer the explanation from.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to call up, like, one of your codecs, and they'll tell you. So unfortunately for Armstrong, like, nanotech infusion left him a very powerful individual. I feel like that's a bit of an understatement. he's possibly the most powerful thing in that universe. Like, he is a tougher fight than a Metal Gear, which fires nuclear missiles.
Yeah, it's like every single Metal Gear, like, boss, I guess, when it's, Metal Gear Solid, is weaker than a Metal Gear. Metal Gear is always like the final end game boss.
Yeah, and the fact that he not only is stronger than a Metal Gear, like Raiden can cut a Metal Gear apart with his sword, he can't cut Armstrong.
What? Nice.
That's always the thing, it's like, as Goku's always taught us, if you hit faster and stronger, eventually you'll do something.
Yeah, there is no animal or thing on Earth that won't die if you just keep punching it. You punch it enough, it will eventually die. It'll take a long time, but you can do it. And just like, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff here that's talking about, he quotes like Martin Luther King and Ronald Reagan, and also he's like fucking hilarious. And they even mention that, the Nanomachines son thing has become a meme. And they have as well, like, the behind the scenes stuff here of just like, just the artwork they do of him. Where they're trying to show, like, here's Armstrong on like the campaign trail, and he's got his big fucking square head.
Oh god, the square.
They've got like a political poster of Armstrong. It's like, you would vote for him. So I don't know why would he put a picture of himself wearing a suit instead of him like benching a fucking Metal Gear? Fuck yeah, Senator Goddamn Armstrong. If you want to see me beat up Senator Armstrong, you can do so on Twitch every Friday night, or most Friday nights, where we have we have a little drinking game that goes along with it.
And that's twitch.tv/Karlswood.
Yeah, and yes, the name is intentional. I don't get what is that? My Twitch name is Karl's Wood. It's like, oh, that sounds funny. Yes, it is. Karl S. Wood, or Karl's Wood, or Karl Swood.
Karl Swood.
Swood! And where would people find you, Lucas, if they wanted to watch you? If they didn't want to watch for some reason a giant buff man get a fist fight on top of a giant robot?
They can find me over on my Twitch, which is twitch.tv/legendofcanto.
Fuck yeah. See y'all there. Nanomachines, son.